Welcome everyone to another episode of BizzTalk Africa. I'm Jason Schuster, your host. I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Vidya Mike. Vidya, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm wonderful.
Where are you calling in from today, this time?
I'm in Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean.
Oof.
I'm very jealous. It is everything that you see on TV and more. The Caribbean is heavenly. It is paradise. It's beautiful.
I've never been. Someday though.
You have an invitation, and viewers, if you want a personal introduction to the Caribbean, I'm here. All for the Caribbean. Although I'm going to be back in London in a couple of weeks' time, but right now I'm living it up in the islands.
We'll figure it out. Anyways, wonderful. Jealous, but wonderful. And today our guest is fantastic. We're here with Rod, and Rod is representing his company, Fouafou Digital. And Rod, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then your company? And then we're going to dive into our topic. And our topic today is mentorship for African startups. This should be a fun show. So Rod, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you guys for having me. Happy to be here and happy to share my story and also speak more also on mentorship and startup across a continent, if that can inspire a few of those who are out there struggling through that journey. So what's about myself? My name is Rodrigue Fouafou. I'm originally from Cameroon in Central Africa. I moved to Canada 21 years ago, where I studied software engineering, worked for a few companies, IBM, Nortel back in Canada. And in 2008, I started my first venture. Basically, it was a cooking recipe video website from 5-star chef from Europe, basically, where I built a web platform and showcase those videos. And people would come to watch the premium content for free. And in exchange, we earn revenue through advertising. That was since 2008. And in a span of 3 years, we became the number 4 worldwide, the most popular food website after allrecipe.com in New York and Food Network in the US and another company in Europe. We're number 4 in terms of food niche business, basically. So I drove this venture with my partner from him and I to 20 staff in Canada, 15 in the US, 400 in Asia. And in our peak, we were at 10 million yearly advertising revenue. And after running for 6 years and a half and aiming to do something different, I left that venture to move to Silicon Valley in California, in Palo Alto. So my idea was to start my next venture, basically. While I was there, I had a chance to meet in person Elon Musk, also Mark Zuckerberg, or Steve Wozniak. And also through my journey, I really learned what it takes to build a tech ecosystem, basically. And while I was doing working on my idea, basically, so I saw a trend that really that was a wake-up call for me. When I saw my Californian friend leaving me from California, moved to Africa, launching startups, I was like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? They're leaving me here, moved to Africa. That was when my Africa wake-up call raised, basically in 2012. When I realized that, I said to myself, you know what, maybe it's time for me to invest my energy, my network, my resources on the continent. So since 2012, we've been investing, coaching, and mentoring many startups across Africa. In a span of 10 years, we invest into 45 startups, out of which 5 are really taking off. And we have learned a lot throughout the continent. We'll figure out what's the best way to mentor all over. And it's an ongoing journey. We're still there. And currently I'm in Kigali, in Rwanda. While I'm here, I knew that at some point I have to move to Africa if I want to really create a real impact on the continent. But I didn't know where and when exactly. So last year, 4 Canadian investors, a friend of mine, asked me to bring them in Africa. So I brought them into 7 countries. And the last country was in Rwanda. So when I landed here last year in January, I was amazed to see a structure and good, amazing country here, right? Mm-hmm. The environment here is very completely different compared to other countries. You know, almost zero corruption from my experience.
And it's the government, isn't it? I mean, the government took a firm stance.
Vision and great mindset, completely different. You know,
absolutely.
I was like, oh my God.
And what does that tell you? That tells you with the right leadership what you could do.
clear
And
vision, right
yeah,
leadership. It's all about no
I'm with
resources.
you. Rwanda
Nothing to do
is
with resources. Yeah,
the
nothing
thing
to do with
is,
resources.
it's
Yeah,
not only Africa, right?
correct.
Rwanda as a country could compare anywhere in this world because of
Exactly.
their structure,
Exactly.
their leadership, and isn't it clean?
Indeed, and safe. At
Yeah,
4 a.m. in the morning, I can walk on the street, talking to my people in Texas, in Toronto, and so on.
yeah. Don't do that in Joburg.
Yeah. So it's an amazing country. When I came to realize that in January, I said to myself, done. This is where I'm going to set up my African base,
Nice.
basically. So I went to Toronto, Canada, and moved back here in March. When I moved back here, and as one of the pioneer in tech ecosystem in Africa, I realized that they were missing on the continent a structure that can gather all the young, passionate technology, train them, give them tool, the right mindset to deliver a tech project, and so on. And also the outsourcing from Africa, from the West and Asia is at the max, and it's very costly. Africa will have to respond to that in the near future, basically, right? And also we're talking digital across the continent. Many people in the village doesn't even understand what's digital, right? We need to explain them, train them, give them the tool and the power of digital going on. And also, they were missing on a continent a company that is one phone call away from its diaspora that can connect diaspora knowledge to someone, a girl here who's in development, need even mental support or mentoring that will boost their level of confidence and so on, right? I'm one of the African diaspora globally. By in 2019 in London, I created African Diaspora Chamber of Commerce, whereas I was calling everyone across who are the same mindset as me. Look, we can change the continent from abroad, right? So let's come together in a one umbrella to impact the continent, but also our community that we live in, right? Either you are in New York, Toronto, London, Paris, and so on. It's possible. So that's why I created WACI, basically. It's a Pan-African talent pool where we calling everyone to develop their skill, nurture them, give them projects to exercise their skill set, basically. And our client base is 90% US, Canada, and Europe, and 10% African. We want to show the world that African talent matter. African talent can also deliver quality in the future, the same standard as someone in New York or in Paris. It's possible.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, it's more than possible, right? It's not only talent from a tech perspective. If you look at some of the best sportsmen and from the Caribbean, obviously we had slaves coming through from all over the world. And the Caribbean people now are a mixture of so many different ethnic groups, right? And I'm one of them. And, you know, you feel a certain connection when you go to play back to home, pretty much. And I think that diaspora is such a strong thing. Now, one of the interesting things, and here's my curve, Jason.
First curveball.
Someone I was talking to recently, you know, he moved over into the United States, established originally from Zimbabwe, and his kids grew up here. But guess what? In a heartbeat, they want to move back to Africa.
Oh, you see?
And I think that diaspora and being able to connect with people, and I think what you're doing is you actually opening the doors to Africans on the continent and outside and saying, you know what, you have ideas, bring it in, let's nurture it. Am I right?
Absolutely.
So Rod, what did you learn? What did you personally learn when you got to Rwanda? What did you learn? Okay, so you've been very successful. You've done your startups. You absolutely have the ability to mentor because you have the experience, you have the knowledge. You've been there, you've done that. So you're not just saying I could mentor. You actually can do it.
Yeah.
Well, what would you say you're still learning, and what are you taking from this learning to put into the future of your business?
Yeah, basically, so you know, after spending more decade abroad, right? So and coming back, and coming back on a different country, not even my home country, but different country, it would take time for me not just only to readjust again to the African culture and African way of doing things and so on, right? And also learn about you know how government function, how things working, what doesn't work, and also, my dear, as you know, one of the things that I learned too, even though I knew it, is that finding capital, working capital in Africa is almost impossible for a startup to do. I knew it before I came in Africa, but by coming here, when I started working and I approached the bank for potential, even a credit line, it was just impossible. This, you know,
Yeah.
they don't do it here. You know, that's a huge way also for us, an opportunity for diaspora too, to see how we can solve that problem in the future.
I would like to help you guys with that. So on a second meeting, on a session like this, we could talk about working capital, because that's certainly something I'm working on with my group. Because you know, I think like a lot of companies, so we have different stages, and I'm sure you have this in your mentoring. People with their great ideas, they have some seed from friends and family. And as you said, that little bit to live on, to launch, seems to be impossible. But after you have customers, then everybody wants to invest. And how do you deal with that middle bit? How do you actually mentor your people in that middle bit and help them? Because it's lonely, isn't it? It's very lonely.
Indeed. I value so much mentoring because I'm proud of it too, right? So even from the university, when I graduate, our university have a program where they connect you with one of the alumni, right, in specific domain that you choose on, right? So I'm a pure product of good mentoring. So when I finished university, I had like a couple of mentors, right, in different sectors. Even nowadays, even until nowadays, some of them are still mentoring me. So and I value that so much. And I know, I think that it adds a lot of value, and it adds a lot of, it will help to really keep some steps, or help to really will help to structure strongly what you are doing and so on. But the right mentorship is important, right? It's not everyone going to mentor you, or you're not going to ask mentorship for everyone, right? So you have to make sure that you have the right criteria, right? The right people, the right skill set you're expecting from him, and also what you're offering to, right? So it's a two-way relationship.
You know,
when I met Tim Draper in California, 2012, during my stay in California, 5 years afterward, when I was starting investing across the continent, I reached him. I said, look, Tim, I'm not there yet. My goal is to create a venture fund in the future, but I'm willing you to mentor me. In exchange, I'm going to open up the market for you in Africa. So he was so stride to say, Rodrigue, you know what? I'm in. So you will produce me the next big startup in Africa to me, and in exchange, I will teach you the basic thing to build a fund, VC fund, right? So this is a two-way relationship, right? So he's gaining from me and also showing him that, look, to our relationship, there's something that you can get from, right? That's what people have to know. Because it's not only you're going to take, right? So at some point, see how you also offer the person that will also make him grow and so on, and develop himself.
Let's sort of dive in this a little bit longer, and this is very important to viewers and people. When you're building your mentorship, when you're building your advisory board, when you're getting your directors in, don't go for just names. Go for people who can make a difference and add value, and they get something from it as well. Because once that happens, and it's back to what you're saying, Rod, it is a sharing community. And the more people are incentivized in any way, they could get it from happiness, they can get a financial reward, they can get a market, whatever. Once people are incentivized, you have so much positive energy that you're bound to be successful.
Exactly.
Definitely. I agree.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. But in Africa, mentorship is completely different. I think it's not even, we have this culture of helping, right? Helping naturally, helping community, helping brother and sister, or helping, right? But the way it's structured into a mentorship, into the business community, people are not yet familiar or know how it works. Basically, I would say it's new in the culture. People don't know how to seek the right help for you, right? So it's still at the early stage, and it still need to be educated, and to be learned, or to be taught, or to be shared also with the community as well. On that sense,
absolutely.
Now, let me ask you, and this may be a kind of a silly question, but what kind of mentors are young founders really seeking in Africa? Because the startups in Africa are very different than a lot of the startups that we see here in the U.S., right?
Yeah, definitely.
So what does that change the type of mentors that these young founders are looking for?
I think that doesn't change the type of mentor. It's more about the approach. The approach change, compared to the West. Right? So it's a mentorship. It's a mentorship, right? It's just the approach, the way to approach, and also again, Jason, it's not part of the culture to mentor on business, right? So we're not there. We haven't developed that level yet, and so but we are getting there. And also startup culture too. Look, 10 years, 20 years ago in Africa, we didn't even talk about women startup, right? Now we're starting talking about startups. So it's a long game kind of thing, and knowing where we came from, it would take time to really, people to embrace that culture of way of mentor and so on.
So, absolutely.
Rod, what do you need? And just backing up into what Jason just asked, right?
Yeah.
I like this this sequence. What from our viewers or people or like me or Jason, whatever, what do you think you would need now help with so that you could continue to grow and help mentoring people? What is it that, we as a sharing community could do to help you become more successful?
You mean me as an entrepreneur in Africa?
Absolutely. What you're doing right now with your business?
When you're doing when I have my business, basically help me create awareness by giving the opportunity to such a platform to speak about our vision, what we do, and so on. That also help, and so on, and does that create more awareness and giving me opportunity to share what's our vision and so on, and also tap into your skills. What I would mean by skills is that, for example, Vidi, I don't know what in terms of skill set, what you're good at. Maybe see how maybe I can connect you with some people here who really want to excel in what you're good at skill set, right? So
right.
I will connect you with one or three women or entrepreneur here across the continent that you can
absolutely. You will always have my support to actually help communities grow. 100%.
That will help. That's one of the things that we realize that mentorship matter most in Africa is that, through our journey, the ticket size we invest is 50 to 75K. And, but after investing in 45 startups, we realize that, look, in some case, you don't even need money. It's even about the change of mindset, the best way to put things together, the best way to structure things. And 3 years ago, a friend of mine from Nigeria, Tommy David, which is one of the founder of Africa Business and Ego Angel, he created and shared with me what he called mentor-driven capital. So how can we create a new type of capital across Africa that's like mentorship? Because in some cases, more powerful than money, basically. So, right. So how do we set up something like that where people can really benefit from that? Benefit from the connection, your skills, your connection, your experience, and so on across the continent, right? It's a very important subject as we are developing, as we stay at the early stage of developing the continent tech ecosystem.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you another question. Those 45 startups that you've invested in, are they mostly in Rwanda or are they spread out all over the continent? Africa is huge, right? It's indeed, a huge continent.
Indeed. We're talking about 44 countries. We're talking about 44 countries and 1.5 billion population and so on. It's huge. So we invest 45 into 25 countries, but also in Jamaica and in Haiti too, as well. We are present. So in 2015, I spent 6 months in Jamaica and spent six months also in Haiti. We have also some small startup that we invest over there too. So it's in Africa, it's in the Caribbean, but also it's in the West too, because some diaspora in the West have come up with some bright, smart startups that are also dealing with the continent problem. Let me give you the example. We invest into this consumer market, African consumer market in Toronto called Cassie Inside. They're like the Bloomberg for Africa, basically. And by the way, a few months ago, they signed a big deal with Bloomberg to source Bloomberg portal with African consumer insight, basically, right? But they're based in Toronto, but the market is in Africa, right? So we're kind of almost around the world, right? So, but Africa-centric, right? That should be channel
the market, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's the African market, but you're actually helping to connect everything to that market. That's fantastic. So what about and on top of Jason's question, so we know it's scattered around, but What about the concentration on the verticals? What types of businesses
Yeah.
are you seeing?
I'm
Yeah,
curious.
propping up.
For us, because what we've been doing since 2012 is that we're using our own fund, make mistake, learn, understand the continent. The real this is a 3 year from now on, when we're going to launch our $100 million VC fund. So our experience from the beginning wasn't to choose whatever vertical and so on, was to go flat, more general, to learn, to identify the potential next Jeff Bezos for Africa in the future in order to invest into them in 3 years from now with our VC fund. But generally, what's the hot on the continent in general is that fintech is at a number one niche to tap into, and they're making a lot of noise, and they're building a lot of great success stories, mostly in Nigeria and also in Ghana and Kenya and Egypt and South Africa as well.
Here's a question, right? Here's my conundrum with fintech. You hear about it a lot, right? But then you also hear that there are so many people below the poverty line. There are so much hardships. They are so, okay. Fintech to me is about payments. It is about doing business. It's about transactions, etc., etc. But who is the target? Because if you have a significant amount of the population below that poverty line, or they're financially excluded from being able to participate in fintech,
correct.
How could everybody, so many businesses go after a concentrated population when that population is not, it is a big population overall, but that particular population is not that big? How do you differentiate yourself in that market?
Yeah, but basically by diversifying different other niches, right? Like a health tech, like a edu tech, like other niches that is the core of the society to function, right? The education, the food, electricity. There's a lot of company into utilities. Into
Right.
We're talking about electricity, clean water, and so on. Basically, by tapping into not necessarily fintech. I think fintech is more than the hype than really they doing what exactly the society really needs.
This is my point.
Unfortunately, and so on. But there's a lot of other niches and niches that also need attention, and I need real people, real capital to push it.
And the thing is, the needs are, because it's a greenfield and brownfield sites in many respects. The needs, as you said, are basic utilities and stuff like that. But what is really critical is having the big investments. And as the big investments come in, that brings up opportunities for other businesses to sort of tap into it and start to become consumer focused and fill those gaps, right?
Great. Yep. You're right. You're right.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I almost feel like fintech might be a whole nother biz talk with you, Rod and Viddy. just let you guys have at it. It's huge. Yeah. It's huge.
And we'll define it, because I think fintech is not really, well defined. It's so broad, the spectrum.
So broad, because a simple payment method platform someone can call. It's still, exactly. That's a good point, though. It still need to be defined and pinpoint too.
Absolutely. Now, fintech may be one of the focuses now, but do you have any predictions of what the next focus might be?
Okay. Yeah. I think, with the...
Don't reveal any trade secrets, though.
No. Okay, that's all good. I think we started talking about, with the COVID going on, and there's the uptrend on e-commerce space. Right, so the upturn of the e-commerce space here on the continent, of course, we come along with the huge challenge of logistics around the continent, because everything wasn't built to handle such. Right, it's still huge. I think it's in the future we're going to see a lot of things in e-commerce space as well. And even though there's still a lot of work need to be done, because in terms of logistics, delivery, and so on, we're not there yet, really. But there's a lot of a big company like Jumia, as you may know, and a few other companies that's emerging to tap into that space. So specifically after COVID, right, people start thinking, oh, maybe I might get my grocery delivered, right? Maybe it's okay for me now, part of my day-to-day to get my thing delivered than me going to the market and buy it, right? So we're starting seeing that trend going on as we progress.
We actually had someone on the show not too long ago, from South Africa, who's actually doing a brilliant project in terms of deliveries. And I think we'll hook you up when we sort of give the details about this show.
Okay.
We'll put a link to that YouTube video, and it'd be good for you to go back and look at it. And I encourage our viewers, when you look at these sessions, don't just look at this particular session, because we try to relate things together. And I think like we're gonna refresh everybody's mind about Yeti, because it is again very similar to what you're talking about. And the more businesses in Africa that combine their forces, you guys are unstoppable. You do not want to be Jeff Bezos. You want to create many Jeff Bezos. One singular person should not have all of that power, because you have many businesses out there and everybody should be successful.
I agree. And we have a room for that.
Absolutely.
1.5 billion population. I mean, it's a different ballgame. The number speaks, right? So yeah, I agree.
And my vision is that those billions of population, I want to help those people have a better life. So that's my personal vision. And that's one of the reasons I'm on this show as well. I'm for the people, 100%. One tribe. That's what I try to push here on BizzTalk.
Okay.
I love it. I love it. Right. I have one more question. We got about 4 minutes left, and I have a feeling we'll have to have you back on the show again, Rod, because I feel like there's a lot more to talk about. Obviously, with you being involved both in investment and mentorship, you're meeting tons of entrepreneurs that are a part of the African ecosystem, outside and inside. Are you finding that the age of entrepreneurship in Africa is younger or older? So for instance, in the US, we hear the big success stories about the young entrepreneurs, but if you actually look at the data, most entrepreneurs are in their 40s, 50s, ones that are successful. But Africa's population is so young. Are you seeing it different? Are the numbers different in Africa, or
no, exactly? That confirm what you're just saying. Bunch of them, the median of all the entrepreneurs, my dear, we're talking about something below 28-year-old, 25-year-old, basically. Those are young people craving to solve the problems of a society, craving to make a difference, craving to, how can I do it differently, and so on, right? So really, they're very, very young, very, very young, basically.
Below 20 even.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
So they're creating different things, how to get around different problems, how to solve problems in the society, and so on, really. So
but this is like another conversation. But what's interesting about that? Because of the society they've grown up in, Jason, the maturity level that they have, because they're almost pushed into that adulthood, in that being able to survive so much younger, that I think like even though they're younger, that survival, that sort of not just for me but for everybody else in society, kind of develops early on, and that's in their DNA.
Indeed. Let me give you an example. We invest into this video game in Cameroon. So the founder, named Olivier, he started when he was 23. Really, a video game company.
Oh, I love this story.
He was able to gather 20 developers, convey them to the vision. They work for free for at least 2 years and a half, really, to develop the project, basically. And when they came out to us, so I think we invest 75K back in 2012. And this guy was so organized, so structured. He was really hungry to succeed, hungry to drive the project out there, and so on. So the game came out in 2017 for Financial Times, CNN, NBC. I have an interview in Wall Street Journal for that. So all the Western media jump on him and so on. And we are helping them to create a chapter in Silicon Valley to raise more capital. And Hollywood are in talk with them to make a movie next year on a video concept, basically. Those are the success stories that we want to show the world that, look, young African can inspire also the world, right? Don't see what you see on TV. There's some African out there who are creating, who can inspire you, basically. That's the message out there, right? So young guy, basically, very, very young.
You know what I love about this, and I think our viewers need to remember, it's you don't need to have a lot to be creative.
Exactly.
Because you know, when we had Leonardo and those guys, I mean, what did they have? They had, you know, like nothing, right? Paper was made from you know, basic stuff. They had nothing. But you don't need a lot to be creative. All you need is determination and a vision.
And a clear vision, have a bold vision, know what you're doing, and so on, and then everything will fall through it.
I love it. Very
love it
inspiring. And I know we're almost at the end. So Rod, if you could give us some closing thoughts, and we'd love to have you on this show again.
Yeah, thank you guys once again for inviting me.
I just told Jason's line.
Yeah,
you did. It's okay.
Thank you for having me. Really, to all entrepreneurs out there in Africa, whether in Africa or abroad or wherever. So really, entrepreneurship is long-term game, right? So make sure that we start with a strong foundation. Make sure that we define a real why. It's real powerful, a real why you start what you're doing, coupled with a clear vision. Right? Because people will come to you not because you're smart or you have money, not because you want to believe in what you're trying to achieve and so on. So have a strong vision out there and be patient. Be patient. Everything will come along the way and so on. And surround yourself with mentors, right? Because those are people that can see what you are missing. Those are people that can help you one step ahead on few things, basically. Surround yourself with a good mentor, have a long-term vision, and be patient around the journey and keep pushing, basically.
Keep pushing. Love that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Rod, thank you so much for being on the show today. Would love to have you again.
Absolutely.
And dive maybe go a little deeper into some of these other topics, because I feel like there's a lot that our audience and me can learn from your experience and what you're dealing with on a daily basis. So let's do it again. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Murakoze in Rwanda language. Say Murakoze means thank you. Murakoze.
Murakoze.
Thank you kindly. Thank you. Awesome. And Vidya, always, thanks for being my co-host. I love
Pleasure.
it.
Thank you.
All right. And to our audience, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys
next time.
Thank you so much.